I was 7 years old the first time someone told me I was less. Not with a slap, not with a shout, just a look like I didn't belong. At 7, you don't know the word racism, you just feel yourself shrink. You look at your own skin and wonder what you did wrong. I'm 103 now. I've lived through wars, presidents, and history books calling it progress. And I wish I could tell you things changed the way you think they did. The signs came down, the speeches got louder, but some walls don't fall, they just get quieter. And the hardest truths I learned about racism didn't come from what people screamed, they came from what they smiled while doing. I was born before civil rights had a name, before marches filled the streets. I grew up in a world where colored-only signs weren't shocking. They were normal. Water fountains, schools, bathrooms. Even Hope had a line you weren't supposed to cross. I watched my parents step aside on sidewalks. I watched grown men lower their eyes just to stay alive. And when I became a man, I learned something else. You could work twice as hard, be twice as polite, be twice as qualified, and still receive half the respect. I didn't read about segregation, I breathed it. I didn't study discrimination, I survived it. But racism isn't what most of you think it is. It's not just slurs and burning crosses, it's deeper than that. And after 103 years, there are 5 truths no one wants to say out loud. Truth 1, racism is not always loud. It doesn't always come with shouting. Sometimes it smiles. I remember walking into a department store in 1958. I was dressed in my best suit, fresh shave, polished shoes. I had just received my first real paycheck. The man at the counter smiled at me, a polite, tight smile. "Can I help you?" he asked. But while I looked at a watch in the glass case, I noticed something. Every step I took, he took too. Not close enough to accuse, not far enough to ignore, just close enough to let me know I was being watched. Another customer walked in, white jeans, no suit, no polish. The clerk left my side immediately to greet him. Louder smile, warmer tone, that's when I understood something. The worst racism doesn't shout. It whispers. It follows you in stores. It questions your intelligence in meetings. It compliments you like you're a surprise. You're so well spoken, as if that wasn't expected. And the danger of quiet racism is this: you can't always prove it, but you always feel it. Truth 2, racism doesn't just change how others see you, it changes how you see yourself. When I was a boy, I loved to read. I'd sit on the porch with a book bigger than my hand, sounding out words slowly. One day a teacher looked at me and said, "You're smart for someone like you, for someone like me." She probably thought it was a compliment, but I carried those words home like a weight in my pocket. As I grew older, I started noticing how people reacted before I even spoke. The raised eyebrows, the surprise when I answered correctly. And slowly, something dangerous began to happen. I started shrinking, not physically, inside. I stopped raising my hand as often. I softened my voice so I wouldn't sound too much. I smiled more than I needed to, just to seem safe. Because when the world keeps suggesting you are less, a small part of you begins to wonder if they're right. Racism isn't only about what it does to your opportunities. It's about what it tries to do to your identity. It plants doubt. It whispers that you should aim lower, dream smaller, stay quiet. And the hardest battle isn't fighting their opinion. It's fighting the moment you almost believe it. Truth 3, success doesn't protect you. That's a lesson I learned the hard way. By my 40s, I had done everything they said would fix the problem. I worked long hours. I kept my head down. I earned promotions nobody expected me to get. I bought a house in a neighborhood people once told me I didn't belong in. I thought achievement would quiet the noise. I thought a suit and a title would act like armor. But one afternoon I was driving home from work, briefcase in the passenger seat, tie still tight around my neck, when flashing lights filled my rearview mirror. I hadn't been speeding. The officer walked up slowly, hand resting near his holster. "Is this your car?" Not license and registration. Is this your car? I showed him my ID, my company badge, my calm voice. He studied me longer than necessary, then he let me go. No apology, just suspicion. That's when it hit me. Money doesn't erase skin, degrees don't cancel doubt. You can climb every ladder they build and still be seen as someone who doesn't belong at the top. Success may change your address, but it doesn't always change their assumptions. And the brutal truth is this: sometimes the higher you rise, the more uncomfortable your presence becomes. Truth 4. Sometimes it comes from silence. Sometimes racism doesn't come from the person who harms you. Sometimes it comes from the person who says nothing. When I was in my 30s, I had a coworker named Daniel. We worked side by side for years, ate lunch together, talked about our kids. He laughed at my jokes. I helped him when he was struggling with a project. I thought we were friends. One afternoon during a meeting, a client looked straight at me and said, "I'd prefer to work with someone else." No reason, just that. The room went quiet. I waited for Daniel to say something. He knew my work. He knew I was the most qualified person at that table. He had told me so himself, but he stared at his notes. Someone cleared their throat. The manager shifted in his chair. And just like that, the meeting moved on. No one defended me. No one questioned it. They just let it happen. Afterward, Daniel patted my shoulder and said, "You know how some people are. Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal." How do you not take it personal when your dignity is negotiated in front of you? That day hurt more than the insults I'd heard growing up. Because when hate is loud, you know where it stands. You know who your enemy is. But silence is harder. Silence is comfortable. Silence protects reputations. It protects promotions. It protects peace in the room. But it doesn't protect the person being diminished. That's the brutal truth. Racism survives not just because of those who believe in it, but because of those who won't interrupt it, because speaking up costs something. It might cost a friendship. It might cost approval. It might cost opportunity. And many people would rather keep their comfort than risk that cost. I learned that day that neutrality is not neutral. When someone is being pushed down and you choose not to lift a finger, you're choosing a side, and that matters. And sometimes the deepest wound isn't the person who looks down on you. It's the one who stands beside you and says nothing. Truth 5. Hate ages you faster than time. I'm 103 years old today. I've seen it all. I've seen wars come and go. I've watched presidents rise and fall. I've buried friends, family, even dreams. But I'll tell you something most people don't understand. The years didn't age me the way hatred did. There were nights I couldn't sleep, not because of what someone did that day, but because of what I carried home with me. The looks, the tension, the constant need to measure my tone, my posture, my presence. Living under suspicion is exhausting, always calculating, always aware, always bracing. That kind of stress doesn't just sit in your mind, it settles in your body. It tightens your shoulders, it hardens your jaw, it steals your peace long before it steals your hairline. I've seen young men grow old in their 20s because they lived in survival mode. I've seen mothers carry fear in their chest like a second heartbeat. That's the part people don't talk about. Racism doesn't just attack opportunity, it attacks nervous systems. It teaches your body to stay alert even when you're safe. And if you let hate live inside you long enough, whether you're the one giving it or receiving it, it corrodes you. That's another brutal truth for us all. Carrying anger for decades will wrinkle your spirit faster than your skin. I had a choice at some point to let bitterness define the rest of my days, or to lay it down not because it wasn't justified, but because I wanted to survive whole. Forgiveness didn't erase what happened, but it kept hatred from owning the years I had left. And at 103, I can tell you this: time will age you, but hate will consume you. I'm 103 years old. I've carried memories longer than most of you have been alive. Some of them are heavy, some of them still sting, and some I had to learn to put down. I didn't tell you these truths to make you angry. Anger is easy. I told you because silence is easier, and silence is what keeps wounds from healing. I have more years behind me than ahead of me. That's just the truth. But if I've learned anything in a century on this earth, it's this: change doesn't begin in laws. It begins in people, in small choices, in uncomfortable conversations. In the moment you decide not to look away. I've seen hatred, I've survived it, but I refuse to let it be the final word in my story. The question isn't whether racism exists. The question is what you'll do when you see it. Will you whisper or will you speak? Because I may be 103. But the future, that belongs to you.